everyone. Welcome to Lighthouse Stamping with Lorraine. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Vancouver, Washington. Thank you for visiting me today. Before we get started, let's take care of all the housekeeping notes. You'll find the description of all the products I used and all the dimensions listed below. You'll find a link to my online store, so if you need a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be yours. If you need to contact me, my email address is there. And if you live in the Vancouver, Portland area, I would love to hear from you, as we are going to be holding some live events and we'd like to be able to invite you to those. And there's also my Facebook group if you'd like to join us over there. And thank you again for subscribing, sharing, and liking and commenting on this video. Every little bit helps us make the channel grow, and you are most appreciated. Thank you. So, a week ago today, I made an explosion box. And I had commented that I have a smaller explosion box, but I needed the large one. And I'm going to show you the one I made last Friday. Here's the box we made last Friday. It's 4 by 4 by 4. It's a rather large box. So today we're going to make the smaller version. As you can see, they are quite a bit smaller. This one is 2 3/4 square. 2 3/4, 2 3/4, 2 3/4. So, a lot smaller. So this is the one we're going to make today. If you want to see this one, how it was made, you can do that last week. The explosion box opens up this way. This one has nail varnish in it and a lip balm. And it's all nicely decorated. Now, this one, you're not going to see what's inside this one because it is a special gift. And I need to make sure it stays that way. But I'm going to show you how it makes, and you'll see the inside of the one we're making, okay? So I'll get this one out of the way and set this one off to the side. So first, as I showed in the first one, we have a lot of parts. This is our lid, which is 6 7/8 by 6 7/8. Our box is 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. And then we have the base piece, which is 7 1/4 by 4. And then we have lots of pieces. And I've pre-cut all the pieces for the most part. We have a little bit of trimming to do. But there's one piece, this is for the lid, and I've got them all labeled here. Okay? And we'll go through all those in a few minutes. But one piece we need to do first is we need to get the piece that goes on this base onto it and let the glue dry so we can die cut it into the base, okay? So that means we need to score the base first. And the base is the piece that holds whatever you're putting in there. Now, you don't have to put a base into one of these. You could leave it free and just put whatever you want in the bottom. My case, I am putting liquid into these, and I wanted a base that would hold it upright and so it wouldn't tip over. But if you were putting in candies or scarves or, toys or something like that, that was not breakable or liquid, you wouldn't need to put a base in it. So, you have to decide what you're making and what's going in it if you want the base. But I do need the base, so I'm going to show you how to make the base. And what we're going to do on the base, on the 7 1/4 inch side, we are going to score at 3/4, 3 1/4, 4, and make sure I get the right measurements, 6 1/2, and then on the 4 inch side, we're going to store at 3 1/4, and you can do at 3/4 and at 3 1/4, or you can just flip around and do 3 1/4 again, okay? So it looks like that. So we're going to set this aside temporarily here so we can glue our piece on and then let it dry while we're fixing the other. Now, this base piece is the only one that has this dimension. It is 2 3/8 by 2 3/8. And these are identical, so whichever side you put this on, that's going to be the top of your box. This is the paper that was underneath, but I'm using the gingham. I like it. And add a little glue here. You could use tape and stuff, but I prefer glue. And I'm going to put that right in the center. Now, how you determine the size of what you're using, you could use hexagons or little squares or whatever you need. But what you do is whatever the size is of what you're putting in the center, you would need to find a circle or something. And if you have a punch, you might have a punch that would work too. In my case, let me grab the other one we did the other day. Just as an example, we needed one for this. And I believe the circle I used for that one was this one here. Yeah, for both of these is that one, which is the second smallest of the standard without the deckling on it. So, scalloping, I should say. So, but this one, I needed a much bigger circle. And here I have two because this is big enough I could do it. The reason I went to the bigger box on this was because of the height of this. Because this is over 3 inches tall. And this is the only way it would fit is in the larger box. It wouldn't fit into a smaller box. So you just have to look at what you have and what you're putting in the box. You could get away with a smaller box without a base or with that base. So as mine, we're going to be using a rather large base to hold what I have. But you could use a punch, you could use squares, you could use hexagons, whatever you wanted. But you do need to make sure this dries first. So we'll set that off to the side. And we'll get back to our scoring, okay? We'll go ahead and score. We're going to go ahead and score everything, and then we'll just take the pieces as we go, okay? So the base here, we are going to score at, doesn't matter which side, because you're going to do the same thing to both sides, 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. Flip it around, 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. Or you could do, and I just got off center here. So let's do that again, and I'll show you how to fix that. Or you could just flip it around and do 2 3/4 on all 4 sides. So we got a little extra scoring there, and I'm going to show you how to rub that out in just a minute, okay? The lid on this is 6 by 7/8, and we are going to score at 1 and 2 on all 4 sides. Now this lid, now if you watched my videos earlier, I moved it out a ways to make it fit. These explosion boxes, you do not have to move them away from the side because the lids are designed to fit snug because of the space. So we're going to score at 1 and 2 on all 4 sides. But I'm still doing a reinforced lid for this box. But this one is, so there's the scoring on that. So we still need a scoring tool, and we still need this here. But let's go take and get rid of this extra line here I have. If you grab your bone folder and you turn this over, and you see the line here, you see the extra line I got in there by mistake? Just take this, and you could use the other one. I prefer this in. I'm just going to rub, just gently. I'm going to rub that second line out, just slightly. It doesn't get it all the way out, but it gets it out. You're going to put some DSP, a lot of DSP on this, so it takes out enough of it. And it leaves a little shiny mark, but it will be fine. It just gets rid of it a little bit, and so you don't have to start all over. But we're putting DSP all over it, so it doesn't really matter. So before we do anything else, so this is the side we scored on. We're going to flip this over. Now this is an old mat, and it does have a little bit of give in when you're doing this scoring. If you don't have any scoring or scoring pad or something that's got a little give in it when you're manually scoring, grab a stack of scrap paper or something and put underneath of it, just so you have a little, little cushioning there. what you're going to want to do is from, this is on the back side, from this corner here up to this one there, and you're going to go back and forth a couple times. And we're going to do this and do this in all 4 corners. This is from the back side. If you made a mistake and did it from the front side, it wouldn't make that much difference. But you could still bend it the way you needed it. But just having a good mat or something underneath here does help cushion it, and it makes scoring much nicer. You get a much nicer score. So we got all 4 of those done. So now we're going to go ahead, I'm going to put this back so I don't lose it. And we're going to go ahead and flip this around, and we're going to go ahead and burnish the first score lines we put in, not the diagonals. We'll do those in a minute. Now we are to the diagonals. So what you're going to do is you're going to be pushing it, and so just push in slightly. And if you get down here in the corner here and it doesn't want to quite go in, just take your bone folder and just sort of force it. Sometimes you have to tell the paper who's boss. It's not boss, you are. And then go in here and give it a good burnish right down to the corner, okay? And then again, just gently work the paper. I'm using my bone folder to work that paper over, because it's not as thick of score line as you have when you actually use a scoring tool, or on a scoring board. And we'll do this one. This one's folding very nice. And the last one. Okay, there's that part, okay? So we got this done. Now we're gonna go ahead and burnish all this. I'm going back and forth between parts, I know. But I want to burnish this piece, and we're going to go back to that base because we need the base done so we can continue on the main body. And then we'll come back to this in a few minutes. So I just burnished that all up so we had it done. So we're going to need that in a minute. And we have to take and... Now you don't have to burnish this beforehand. You can. I like to just get the sides in before I put it on the cutting plate. You can do it after, either side you want. It's up to you if you want to burnish before or after. Now, all of you are saying, why aren't you, I'm going to be using my Big Shot to do this. But you're all probably going to say, why aren't you using the small machine? That doesn't look narrow, go through there. We can go through the machine, but you'd have to flip one of these sides up. And when you put this down, this would go like this, and it would leave a circle, half circle moon there on your document, on your page. And I don't want to put paper on there. Now, if you don't mind doing that, you could fold that over, these two sides over, run it through the small machine, and then you'd have to put paper or DSP on this. And I didn't want to. So, we're going to use the Big Shot. So, yeah, it's almost fits, but you still have to fold those two sides, so it wasn't worth it. So I'm going to lay this on here, and I'm going to grab my very large die. Now, I do have magnetic plate on here, but sometimes the magnetic plate doesn't want to stay where I want it to stay. Sometimes I have to encourage it to stay where I want it. So just put those on there to make sure it stays in the center. We'll cut that out. The other thing is I've started putting some Post-its on some of these as dimensions. Someone suggested it, and I would like to really know if you would prefer me to put Post-its on with dimensions. Like I said, all the dimensions and stuff are down below, but I've had a couple of people suggest that, and that's why I did it on these last 2 projects I've been doing. I do take your suggestions and stuff and things you'd like to see. So just so you know, these are the layering circle dies, and this was the 3rd largest one, or 3rd smallest one, 3rd one in, so. Which will probably not go back where it sits, but that's okay. Alrighty, now we'll finish. We've got this all folded and all die cut, and we have a cute little piece we could use for something. So what you want to do is, this is going to be the front of your box, and your box is going to fold all up like this, okay? Like that, okay? So this is, you're basically putting a box inside of a box. Excuse me for one moment. I have the hiccups. So, oh, by the way, I didn't specify what paper I was using. This is Evening Evergreen, and the DSP is Fittings Florets. I like it. I really am going to miss Evening Evergreen and Soft Succulent when they go away at the end of April. Because if you did not know, they will be going away. So these little squares I'm cutting up, straight up. And I'm going to wedge into this one and wedge into this one. Now, the 2 that are back that don't have, the 2 that are closest, the 2 that have in between the plain one, those are the ones you want to wedge in. Okay? But yeah, I'm going to miss the, I am going to miss these 2 colors. I like all the colors, but these 2 particular colors I really miss. You know, it's, I made some cards this weekend and this last weekend, and I dug out a couple old stamp sets. I dug out the Gleaming Christmas stamp set, and I grabbed out the Pretty Peacock paper and Misty Moonlight. I keep some of the other stuff, the stuff I really like, for myself. So we look like this now. These 2 squares we're actually going to cut off, and you want to make sure that you have cut off the scoring piece. You know what, the little ridge there? You want to cut in so you're just getting rid of that scoring ridge. You don't want to wedge in, you just want to make sure that ridge is gone. Yeah, so, yeah, I was like, oh, I wish they'd bring Misty Moonlight back. And what else other color did I have? Oh, Just Jade I played with too, and Seaside Spray. Like I said, I've had my favorites I've kept out. This will be some of my favorites. I'll be getting me some extra. So I'm going to put some glue on these 4 tabs, just a little bit of glue. And we are technically making a box, a little box. Take up 2 sides here. Make sure you're nice and square, and you got 90-degree angles here. We'll do this side. Like that. So, and then these we'll literally fold over and glue down, so we have a little box that sits like that inside of the big box, right in the center here. That's what it's going to do. This is why you need to have this done before you start putting everything together, because it's nice to be able to put it in there. So I'm putting glue on all 3 of these tabs. I'm being brave today. Folding all those in. And we do have to hold them for a minute. So anyhow, I have placed my order. Matter of fact, my order should be here sometime today. for some new product out of the new catalog. The new catalog, the new mini catalog goes into effect on the 5th of January. I have ordered new catalogs, and everybody that has purchased from me will be getting their catalog shortly thereafter. And if you are in need, you can send me an email, and I will work out getting a catalog to you. So there is the base, and we'll let that sit and finish drying for a few minutes. All right, so now we have to decorate. So let's decorate the outside of this first. Let's see if I can get all these correct. Okay, there is 8 squares. This one, the last one, I made a decorative piece that said Merry Christmas and stuff. This one I'm not. So I cut out 8 pieces that are 2.5 by 2. I guess I should get inside the frame. Look at my monitor more, Lori. Someone needs to yell at me once in a while. Lori, look at the monitor. So it's 2.5 by 2.5 squared, and there's 8 of them. And of course, this is also fitting florets. And I think to speed things up here, I know Lori's going to use a little seal. I love my glue, but I also just heard that the little children, the 4-legged children, have just woken up, which means they're going to be at my door crying here very soon. So, and we're going to put those squares here. I have yet to master the Seal Plus and Stamp and Steel. It's really good stuff. It really holds well. But I'm a glue girl from way back. So we got those 4 there, and they go on the outside. Now you can decorate these 4 squares if you want. That's the bottom. I don't think it's necessary, because once you open it up, it's the inside they're really looking at. So we have 4 more squares here. My mother just whispered through the door. She goes, "They went back to sleep. They went back to the bedroom, went back to sleep." Yay. I love my kittens dearly, but I'm beginning to enjoy nap time for filming. There is one disadvantage about tape over glue. No wiggle room. And one more. Okay, so now let's get the center in here. And I am going to use glue for the center. I'm going to actually use glue for the corners too. And you want to make sure you have plenty of glue. So whatever you're putting in the center, you don't want it leaking. Well, mine's liquid, so it would leak. And then you need to push it down in here. Oh, I've got something heavy that can hold it down. There. That's just enough weight to hold it down. I've been sewing, or actually Mom's been sewing more than I have. Okay, so what I've done is over here, I have cut and hooked together all the little pieces that go together, but I did leave 1. So you're going to cut 4 at 2.5, 2 and 2.5. Can't we talk? 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches, 4 of them. And you're going to have to cut those diagonally. And the reason I left them, and I've left them all hooked together with a Post-it, is because I want my squares to match when I put them together on the card. So let's bring that back here. That's not going anywhere now. So I am going to use glue on this because I want to take, and I'm not pushing glue. I should not say I'm pushing, not pushing the bottle, but I am pushing the glue to make sure it's right up into the corners. If you don't, it starts peeling at the corners and it doesn't look too good. And you'll notice these margins on the diagonal want to look a little smaller, but that's fine. They're not much. But if you cut them from the same piece, see, I'm just taking the end and moving it. Not pushing on the bottle, I'm just moving the glue at that point. But if you take and cut your pieces and keep them separate, each of them, then you will have some, everything will line up nicely and look really finished. And so here's another set. And all these Post-its I will use for, there's nothing wrong with them yet, even though there's writing on them, I will use them for holding stuff down when I'm cutting or doing other things. So we'll get this done really quickly. But for these small corners, I love to get the glue in the corners. And tape just does not allow you to do that. Boy, is it cold today. It has been rainy and cold for the last few days. We actually had snow. When did we have snow? The 4th. So about a week ago. On Sunday, we woke up and it was snowing early in the morning, and it kept on snowing all day. But it wasn't enough to turn the ground white. We had maybe an inch. But it was cold and blowing and snowed all day. And the next morning, the sun was out. Still cold. And then all that disappeared, and the rain has returned. Which is typical. We don't normally get snow this early in the year. We don't typically get that much snow. We get snow maybe once or twice a year, and it's usually an inch or two. But it's usually in January or February. Very seldom is it in December, early December. I'm still waiting for my white Christmas. We've had snow before Christmas, and we've had snow after Christmas, and we've had snow that's been on the ground, but never snowing on Christmas. At least as long as I can remember. Not here, anyhow. So that's my dream, is to have no snow when I go to bed and wake up some Christmas and have snow everywhere. And now that I work from home, I don't care if it snows. Because I don't have to go anywhere. Of course, my boss, former boss, is probably listening to this video going, uh-huh. So that's the inside of the box. Because I'm not doing, but you could add panels and decorate them just like I did on the one I did from last week. So I would suggest you look at that. And so you can see how I decorate it. And there's lots, you could do anything you wanted with this. So that's the inside of the box. So let's work on the outside of the box. So we have to do some cutting, and you've seen me do these before. I'm going to cut up. So I'm cutting up the 2 squares. We're going to take an angle off here. I'm going to cut this square off. I'm going to angle here. And I'm going to just wedge this. And I'm just going to rotate around on this little box. You can do both sides if you want. It's up to you. I vary it sometimes. But I do think square lids, if they're totally square, sometimes hold up better if you spread the weight out. But that's my personal preference. But if you forget, which I've done in the past, just continue on. It doesn't matter. It will work out in the end. So we have what now? A week. Trying to think how much time we had till Christmas. Got a week and a half. A little over a week and a half. Time's flying fast. I have an idea for a home decor piece for next week. Haven't tried it yet. I have it in my brain. It's nothing I've seen anybody do. It's just something I thought might be really cool to try. So we might try that on Monday. I'm sure you guys all have seen enough of my funny bloopers to find I can be humorous when I make mistakes. But I just thought it'd be fun to try something for home decor for Christmas. So this piece here is, I think, cut it the wrong size. It is. It's supposed to be 2 5/8 by 2 5/8, and somebody didn't cut it the right way. It's too long. I didn't cut it at 5/8. I cut it at a third. 3/4. See these mistakes? I was just talking about humor and me making mistakes. So there we go. It's 2 5/8, and it's right on the instructions. So we're gonna go ahead and pop this in there on the top. Like that. And then I have made 4 pieces that are 2 3/8 by 3 1/4. I've used a few Post-its to hold them together, and they go on this piece here. Now you could put the box all together first if you wanted. I prefer to put all the paper DSP on. I'm going to, when it's flat, I just find it a little easier. This piece here. Like that. Now we'll flip it over. Just rub it in here and we'll make sure it all sticks. We're going to take some tear and tape. If I can find the end of the tear and tape. And I'm going to put a couple pieces on each of the far tabs here. And you could use glue for that this part if you wanted. I find tear and tape works really well for it. And it doesn't get everywhere when you're closing it all up. Okay, then we're going to take these tabs and hook them in. And they get rest of the way sealed in with the tear and tape. Said, I'm not getting them overkill on the glue, just enough to hold them in place. Well, today is officially the last day of my 25 days of Christmas, if anybody's been counting. But I'm not done with Christmas yet, so I think we'll do a couple more Christmas projects. And then we'll get into some of the new stuff and some of the celebration stuff. Like I said, I've been waiting for my order to come, and it should be here. It's supposed to be here today, or later today. They said by 9 o'clock tonight, but usually when that means it's usually the next day. I'm just tearing off the tape, just pushing them into place. I'm not pushing hard, I'm just getting them in place here for a moment. Like that, and then I'm gonna take my bone folder and push them in. And you've seen me do this with other tear and tape before. I like to make sure they're good and sealed. And so they've got a nice clean, this goes all the way down. It's the same dimension. So you got a nice clean finish on that. So we'll bring our box back in. I'll get some of the crap out of the way. And we fold it up. And sometimes you have to take and show them. So like I said, if you had something you wanted to print in here and you didn't need a base, just don't leave the base out. But sometimes you have to, you know, sometimes you have to, first one or two until it gets used to folding up, you have to sometimes fiddle with it a little bit. It does fold. Just, you know, a little temperamental at first. And we'll put our lid on. Just like that. Nice snug fit because it's an explosion box. So you want it to open up. So I wanted to keep the outside of this very simple. So I went with some beautiful mesh ribbon. Ooh. Let's hope there's enough mesh ribbon on this roll. So I'm going to wrap that around. Twist it. No, I need a little more. You guys have all seen me fight with mesh ribbon before. And I will continue to fight with it because I love it. I'm tired. Not. I still didn't leave quite enough there. There, we got it. I have to take this off and open this up to rewrap it. So I will, since you guys are probably wondering how much ribbon you think you need, when I reopen this to put my stuff in, before I write the instructions, which I haven't done yet. I usually don't do that until after I'm filming, in case I do make a mistake, which does happen. Because I'm human, just like everybody else. I'll measure this so you know how long this piece was. And I'm going to tie a nice bow. I'll tell you the finished. I'm not going to trim this right now because I do need to rewrap it. Once I trim it, I will tell you what the finished measurements were. I did not do that on the first one, and I should have. So, but you know, I like my big floppy bows, and you can spread the mesh out. And there is your beautiful explosion box. So I hope you all enjoy that. Now you have two different sizes of explosion boxes. I think they're a lot of fun to make. They're great to give to somebody because, you know, they're cute and they all look at them and then they open up. And like I said, on every single one of those inside panels, you could write a different message, which I've done before. You could handwrite messages or print something out on your computer and put it on some cardstock and glue it in there if the verses you can't find a verse that fits. I've made ones that were for special birthdays, and I had little sayings for people's, you know, 50th and 60th birthdays in there. So you can do all kinds of fun things with these, and they're great for Christmas as well. So with that being said, thank you for joining me on our last day of the 25 days of Christmas, but I'll probably do a couple more because it's not Christmas yet. And we will see you on Monday. So have a wonderful weekend. And hopefully you get all your Christmas stuff done soon. Time's passing quickly. Bye-bye.